Welcome to another Blackflix and Chill movie recap. This movie summary is about the American action movie released in 2018 titled Black Panther. Sit back and relax as you are about to watch a Blackflix movie recap that will open your mind to a whole new world. The movie begins with an elderly man telling a child the history of a great African nation called Wakanda. Wakanda was formed after an outer space meteorite containing a precious metal named vibranium struck a part of Africa. 5 tribes settled there and soon started fighting one another. One of the warriors had a vision from a panther goddess that guided him to a plant shaped like a heart. The plant gave him superpowers which helped him become the king and first Black Panther of Wakanda. Only one tribe, the Jabaris, didn't submit to his rule. They chose to be independent and live in the mountains. Wakandans harnessed the power of the vibranium and became the most technologically advanced nation in the world. Unfortunately, their neighboring countries were always in a state of war. To protect themselves from danger, Wakandans isolated themselves from the rest of the world. The scene goes to 1992, California. A little kid, Eric Stevens, is playing basketball with his friends while his dad, N'Jabu, brother to the king of Wakanda, King T'Chaka, is upstairs planning a robbery operation with his close friend, James. N'Jabu hears something and asks James to hide their weapons. James asks him if it's the police, but N'Jabu, with all certainty, says it's not them. There's a knock at the door, and N'Jabu knows exactly who is there. He tells James, who's already scared, to open it or the people at the door will do something crazy. James opens it, and 2 black women holding spears and dressed in African war attire walk in. N'Jabu identifies himself and shows them the vibranium mark on his lower lip. The light fades and turns back on to reveal the presence of King T'Chaka. The guards excuse themselves and King T'Chaka requests James to do the same. N'Jabu begs T'Chaka to let James stay, insisting he's trustworthy. T'Chaka tells N'Jabu that a criminal, Ulysses Claw, attacked Wakanda and stole some vibranium. He says that Claw knew where the vibranium was and Wakanda's weak points, information which only an insider could have given him. T'Chaka confronts N'Jabu for betraying Wakanda, but N'Jabu denies having any involvement. T'Chaka looks at James and asks him to identify himself. James reveals that he is a Wakandan spy whose real name is Shuri and shows the Wakandan mark on his lip. N'Jabu is shocked and angry that he was betrayed by Shuri. He tries to attack him, but T'Chaka stops him. T'Chaka orders N'Jabu to return to Wakanda at once and confess his crimes to the council. Eric and his friends notice a strange aircraft hovering over his home. The scene returns to the present where T'Chaka's son and heir to the throne, T'Challa, is listening to the news reporting the killing of his father in a terrorist attack. He embarks on a mission to stop human traffickers. His head bodyguard and leader of the King's Guards, also known as the Dora Milaje, Okoye, offers to go with him, but he refuses. Okoye jokingly tells him not to freeze when he meets his ex-girlfriend, Nakia, who's an undercover spy on the same mission. T'Challa ambushes the traffickers and beats them all, rescuing their victims. Nakia scolds him for interfering with the mission since it was supposed to be hers. T'Challa informs her of his father's death and invites her to his coronation, which is to take place the next day. The 3 of them return to Wakanda with Nakia locked in the arms of T'Challa. On the outside, Wakanda resembles a nomadic village on the plains, but deep within, it is a developed country with futuristic buildings and vast waterways cutting through the land. They are welcomed by the Queen Mother, Ramonda, and the princess, T'Challa's little sister, who's also a tech genius, Shuri. Preparations to crown T'Challa begin in earnest. Ramonda tells T'Challa that she and King T'Chaka had always looked forward to that day. Meanwhile, Eric is grown up now and is at a museum checking out African artifacts. The museum director, who has already asked the security guards to monitor him, keeps him company while drinking a cup of coffee. Eric asks her about some artifacts and she tells him their origin. When he comes across a vibranium axe, he tells the director he's going to take it out of the museum. The director feels threatened and tries to call security. Unknown to her, Eric had someone poison her coffee, so before she could kick him out, she's already down on the floor and in pain. 2 men dressed as ambulance officers rush in. They bring out their guns and kill all the guards present before stealing the vibranium axe. During T'Challa's coronation, he is supposed to be challenged in combat by the other tribes for the throne. Shuri gives him a potion to drink to neutralize his superpowers and make it a fair fight. Shuri then opens the floor for the other tribes present to make their challenge. He states that victory is either through the death or the surrender of one fighter. They all decline and accept T'Challa as their leader, except the Jibaris, to Zuri's shock and disappointment. The Jibari leader, M'Baku, an arrogant, hot-tempered warrior with a good body build, says he and his tribesmen will not let Wakanda's technology be handled by Shuri, who has no regard for their tradition, and Wakanda to be ruled by a prince who couldn't even protect his father. Surrounded by their guards, T'Challa and M'Baku fight. M'Baku strikes first and dominates the fight before T'Challa hits back. M'Baku dispossesses T'Challa of his weapons, and T'Challa fights him with his bare hands. To everyone's excitement, T'Challa has the upper hand in the fight. M'Baku then lifts him and locks him in a tight embrace. He headbutts T'Challa repeatedly while saying T'Challa is a nobody without his powers. T'Challa is about to go unconscious when Ramonda tells him not to forget who he is. In a burst of determination, T'Challa headbutts M'Baku and frees himself from his grip. M'Baku pierces T'Challa's chest with a spear. T'Challa removes the spear and locks M'Baku's head under his legs in a classic wrestling move. He tells M'Baku he doesn't want to kill him and demands that he surrenders instantly. M'Baku proves stubborn at first but later gives in. T'Challa is then crowned king amid cheers from the crowd while M'Baku is carried away by his guards. T'Challa later undergoes a ritual where he's supposed to travel to the ancestral plane after drinking a potion containing the heart-shaped earth and being covered in red sand. T'Challa wakes up in a grassy field next to a tree with two panthers on it. One of them transforms into T'Chaka. T'Chaka advises T'Challa to surround himself with people he trusts because kingship is hard. T'Challa regains consciousness soon after. After the coronation, T'Challa asks Nakia to stay in Wakanda. Nakia refuses, saying it is her calling to help the poor and needy outside Wakanda. She even suggests that Wakanda starts offering aid to less developed countries, but T'Challa doesn't agree because doing such would mean Wakanda can no longer keep a low profile. T'Challa discusses Nakia's proposition with Kabi, his best friend who is also the leader of the border tribe and Okoye's boyfriend. Kabi has the same opinion as T'Challa. However, he proposes that Wakanda should start making plans to conquer other countries in the world since they have the required strength. T'Challa reminds him that it is not in line with their values. Okoye breaks the news of the stolen Wakandan artifact to T'Challa. She says that Claw was behind the attack and he plans on selling it to an American businessman in South Korea the next day. T'Challa makes plans to capture Claw. Kabi wants to come along because his parents were killed in Claw's attack on Wakanda. T'Challa refuses but promises to bring Claw to Wakanda to pay for his crimes. Shuri shows T'Challa some new gadgets she made for the mission, including an upgraded Black Panther suit that is capable of absorbing and redistributing kinetic energy. T'Challa, Okoye, and Naki arrive at a South Korean casino, which is the venue of the trade. T'Challa runs into an old friend, CIA agent Everett K, who's also on an undercover mission to capture Claw. It turns out Ross is the American businessman Claw would be meeting with. Ross warns T'Challa not to interfere with his operation, and T'Challa stubbornly insists that he's not leaving the casino without Claw. Claw and his guards walk into the casino shortly after. Claw meets with Ross. Ross men bring in a box of diamonds while Claw brings out the Vibranium Max. They're about to make a transaction when Nakia says she wants to make a move on Claw. While trying to stop Nakia, Okoye gets into trouble with one of the guards, and a fight breaks out. Claw tries to escape while T'Challa, Nakia, Ross, and Okoye fight his men. T'Challa goes after him and is hit by a blast from Claw's robotic cleft arm, which is made from vibranium. Claw gets in his convoy while Okoye and Nakia chase him down in their car. T'Challa changes into his suit and joins the chase with the help of an electric car which Shuri teleported to North Korea. Claw uses his robot arm to blast Nakia's car to bits. Fortunately, she and Okoye survive. Ross catches up with them and offers them a ride. T'Challa's car is also destroyed by Claw's arm, but he chases after Claw's car and destroys it. Claw comes out and hits T'Challa with a blast from his arm. This time, T'Challa's suit absorbs the energy and he punches Claw repeatedly. A crowd of people taking pictures gathers around him. T'Challa holds Claw and is about to kill him when Okoye and Ross interfere, asking him to bring them to the station. Claw is taken for questioning and tells Ross that Wakanda is not the poverty-stricken country everyone thinks it is. He says they have so much vibranium over there. Ross finds it hard to believe Claw because before Chaka died, he told the United Nations that Chloe had stolen all their vibranium. Eric and his crew storm the facility and bomb it before the security see them coming. Eric, who's wearing a mask, breaks in and helps Chloe escape. Ross saves Nakia's life by taking a bullet to his spine for her. T'Challa notices Eric wearing a ring similar to his grandfather's. Ross is nearly paralyzed. The only way he can be saved is if he's taken to Wakanda for treatment. T'Challa makes arrangements for Ross to come along with them despite Okoye's protest. W'Kabi meets up with T'Challa and is disappointed to find out he failed to capture Claw. Claw and Eric leave for South Africa in the company of Claw's bodyguard and Eric's girlfriend. Claw promises to send Eric's gut as soon as he gets a buyer. Eric says he's not bothered about the money and asks for Claw to take him to Wakanda. When Claw refuses, Eric shoots his bodyguard dead. Eric accidentally kills his girlfriend while aiming at Claw. Claw tries to run away, but Eric catches him and shoots him dead. T'Challa recalls the incident with the ring and asks Shuri what happened to his uncle, N'Jabu. Shuri doesn't want to talk about it at first, but after much pressure from T'Challa, he narrates the story. N'Jabu had been placed as a ward dog spy in America, where he had a wife and a child. Seeing the sufferings of black people there, he wanted to empower them with vibranium so they could fight back and dominate the country in the name of Wakanda. Unfortunately, T'Chaka would never have agreed to such an idea, so N'Jabu decided to team up with Claw to steal some vibranium. After N'Jabu was caught by T'Chaka, he brought out his gun to shoot Shuri for ratting him out. T'Chaka stopped N'Jabu and killed him. They left his dead body behind and lied to the rest of Wakanda that N'Jabu had disappeared. Shuri is filled with so much guilt as he tells the story, while T'Challa becomes angry. Meanwhile, Eric has arrived at the Wakandan border with Claw's corpse, which he gives to W'Kabi. To his surprise, Ross wakes up in Shuri's lab, fully recovered, and discovers that Claw was telling the truth about Wakanda's technology. Okoye informs Shuri about a man who showed up with Claw's corpse and claims to be Wakandan. Ross recognizes Eric's picture and says he's not Wakandan, but a US mercenary. T'Challa is angry about his father's actions and expresses it to Nakia. Nakia tells him to forgive his father and to do better than he did. Shuri summons T'Challa to her lab. At the lab, Ross tells T'Challa about Eric's knack for killing people while he was a mercenary and how he earned the nickname Killmonger. Eric is brought to T'Challa and the council in the palace. He tells them he wants the throne and they laugh. Eric preaches that Wakanda ought to be using its vibranium to liberate black people all over the world, but T'Challa is not interested. Eric tells the council to ask him who he is. Shuri tells him his name and what he does for a living. Eric insists that his real name isn't Eric. He tells T'Challa to ask him, but T'Challa refuses and asks the guards to take Eric away. An elder in the council grants Eric's request, and to everyone's amazement, Eric reveals his true identity as N'Jadaka, son of Prince N'Jabu. He says that his father was murdered by King T'Chaka. W'Kabi shows everyone Eric's royal ring to prove that Eric isn't lying. Eric challenges T'Challa for the throne, and against his mother's wishes, T'Challa accepts. The combat takes place immediately on a waterfall. Eric beats T'Challa to a pulp and is about to slice him with a sword when Shuri interrupts their fight. He tells Eric that he was the cause of N'Jabu's death and he should kill him instead of T'Challa. Eric takes a spear and stabs Shuri dead. He lifts T'Challa and throws him down the waterfall and is immediately crowned the king. This is a good example of children paying for the sins of their parents. What do you think will happen from here? Do you think T'Challa's guards and army will serve Eric? Do you think T'Challa will return, or has he joined his ancestors? Let's find out. Nakia helps Ramonda and Shuri to flee the kingdom. She returns for Okoye. Although Okoye wants to leave with them, she has to stay and perform her duties to the throne. Nakia then leaves with Ross. During Eric's coronation, he is given the herb to transport to the ancestral plane. Over there, he meets N'Jabu, who worries that the people of Wakanda will not accept Eric as their king or as one of their own. When Eric returns to the land of the living, he decides to change the rules. He asks the women tending the herb to burn every single plant and seed left. The women grudgingly obey his command, but not before Nakia sneaks in to steal her. After learning that Wakanda has spies in every nation, Eric commands that they supply vibranium to oppress black people through those spies. Okoye disagrees completely, but W'Kabi buys Eric's idea. Nakia takes the herb along with Ross and T'Challa's family to Jabarland. They are surrounded by M'Baku's men and taken to M'Baku. Ramonda breaks down in tears and tells M'Baku about her son's death. Nakia gets on her knees and asks M'Baku to help them plant the last of the heart-shaped herb. Seeing Ramonda cry moves M'Baku. He takes the four of them to a room where T'Challa's body is covered in snow to sustain his life, and tells them how a fisherman had discovered T'Challa unconscious at the edge of the river. Ramonda prepares a potion with the herb and gives it to T'Challa to drink. She buries him under the snow afterward. T'Challa returns to the ancestral plane. His father invites him to join his ancestors, but T'Challa declines. He scolds his father and the rest of his ancestors for creating a culture that abandons black children like Eric and lets them grow up into monsters. He vows to overthrow Eric and fix the mistakes of his father. T'Challa then wakes up, fully recovered. After learning that Eric is in control of Wakanda's military and weapons, T'Challa prepares for a rematch against him. He begs M'Baku to lend him some of his warriors, but M'Baku turns him down, saying he doesn't want to get involved in Wakanda's war. Kabi informs Eric that not all their spies are open to the idea of world domination, but the ones in New York, London, and Hong Kong are on board and awaiting instructions. Eric gives orders for warships to head to those countries. A warship is shot down by T'Challa. Eric and Kabi are disappointed to see him alive, while Okoye is happy. T'Challa reminds Eric that the challenge isn't over because no one has yielded or died. Eric instructs Akabi to kill T'Challa. Okoye reminds Akabi that he ought not to interfere in the challenge, but he ignores her and leads the border tribe against T'Challa. Okoye and some of the Dora Milaje fight Eric, who changes into his Black Panther suit, while the others join T'Challa to beat the border tribe. Shuri gives Ross an aircraft to prevent the warships from leaving Wakanda by shooting them down. Eric kills a Dora Milaje soldier and beats the rest of them. Nakia and Shuri face him. He stabs Nakia's thigh and is about to kill Shuri when T'Challa pushes him from the edge of the cliff, where he and Shuri have been fighting, to a train station below. With Shuri's help, T'Challa deactivates his suit and Eric's. "I don't need a suit to kill you. Your reign is over. You sat up here, safe and protected," says Eric. "You won't see us become the people you hate so much. Divide and conquer the land just as they did," replies T'Challa. "Nah, I learned from my enemies. Beat them at their own game," says Eric. "You have become them. You will destroy the world, Wakanda included," says T'Challa. "The world took everything away from me, everything I ever loved. But I'll make sure we're even. I'm going to track down anyone who would even think about being loyal to you, and I'm going to bury them in the dirt right next to Shuri," says Eric. At this point, T'Challa becomes mad and launches at Eric. Ross successfully destroys all the warships. Akabi and his soldiers overpower the Dora Milaje and ask them to surrender. Suddenly, the Jabari army from nowhere, headed by M'Baku, comes to the rescue of the Dora Milaje and helps them defeat the border tribe. Akabi surrenders instantly. Eric is about to stab T'Challa to death with a short spear when T'Challa uses a combat signature move his father taught him to disarm Eric and stab him. While Eric bleeds to death, he tells T'Challa the stories his father told him about the beauty of Wakanda. T'Challa takes Eric to the top of a mountain where he can watch the sunset and see the whole nation. Eric enjoys the view. T'Challa offers to take Eric to Shuri's lab for healing. Eric knows that they would put him in jail if he survives. Just like the African ancestors who jumped from slave ships, Eric believes death is better than bondage. Hence, he declines and asks T'Challa to bury him in the ocean. Eric pulls the spear from his body and dies. T'Challa is restored to the throne and he begs Nakia to stay, promising to help her fulfill her calling. T'Challa takes Shuri to Eric's home in California. He tells her he bought the building and plans to tear it down and build a center where Wakanda can reach out to black people across the world. Nakia will head the center while Shuri will handle the information and science exchange. The movie ends with T'Challa giving a speech at a United Nations conference. In times of crisis, the wise ones build bridges while the foolish ones build barriers, he says. In summary, Black Panther is about two cousins, one whose life got ruined after his uncle killed his father, and the other who is trying to make amends for his father's sins. The former chose war and revenge over dialogue and ended up getting killed by his cousin. Here are two lessons we can take from this movie. Never lie to those who deserve to know the truth, and do not allow revenge to turn you into the evil you should be fighting. Chadwick Boseman, Angela Bassett, and Michael B. Jordan star in this movie. It was directed by Ryan Coogler. Fun fact, Black Panther is the first Marvel movie to have a black director and a majorly black cast. Thanks for watching. What lesson did you learn from Black Panther? How did this movie connect to you on a personal level? Please let us know in the comments section. Also, If you enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe to our channel for more Black movie recaps like this.